Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt like everyone was staring at you? Maybe you wore the wrong outfit, maybe you tripped over your own feet, maybe you just said something slightly awkward, and now it's looping in your head nonstop. But here's the truth. Most people didn't notice, and the few who did, they forgot about it 20 seconds later. So why does it feel like the whole world is watching? Because your brain is playing a trick on you. It's called the spotlight effect, and it's one of the biggest reasons why we constantly feel judged. Let me explain. The spotlight effect is a psychological phenomenon where you dramatically overestimate how much people notice you, think about you, or care about what you're doing. In your mind, you're standing in the middle of a stage with a giant spotlight on you. But in reality, everyone else is focused on their own spotlight, their own insecurities, their own awkward moments, just like you. This isn't just a theory. It's been studied. In one experiment, college students were asked to wear an embarrassing t-shirt, something with a huge picture of Barry Manilow, and then walk into a room full of strangers. Afterward, the students guessed that about half the room had noticed them and judged them. In reality, only about 23% of people even remembered what was on the shirt. That's the spotlight effect in action, and it's not just about shirts or tripping in public. It shows up in everyday life, at school, at work, on social media. We assume that everyone notices when we stutter, when we make a typo, when we speak up and our voice shakes. But the truth is, people are too busy thinking about themselves to think that much about you. Now, here's where it gets even deeper. The spotlight effect feeds into social anxiety. It turns normal moments, like walking into a room or starting a conversation, into mental minefields. You start avoiding situations where you might be judged. You rehearse conversations in your head. You analyze every interaction after it's over. And the fear of being seen turns into a fear of being known. But let's pause for a second. Where does this even come from? Why are we wired this way? Well, evolution had a role to play. Back in the day, being part of the group meant survival. Being judged or rejected by your tribe could literally be life or death. So your brain developed mechanisms to avoid social rejection at all costs. Even today, thousands of years later, your brain still acts like every awkward moment might get you kicked out of the village. But here's the thing. This survival instinct is overreacting. You're not in a tribe anymore. You're not being hunted by saber-toothed tigers. You're just living your life. And most people are too distracted with theirs to scrutinize yours. So how do you break the illusion? First, you have to remind yourself of this truth. Most people are not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, how they look, how they sound, how they're being perceived. Second, remember that awkwardness is universal. Everyone has said something weird. Everyone has had spinach in their teeth. Everyone's had that moment where they walked the wrong way and pretended it was on purpose. You are not alone. You're just human. Third, practice flipping the spotlight. Next time you feel anxious in a social situation, shift your attention outward. Get curious about the other person. Ask questions. Listen. The more you focus on connection instead of performance, the less power the spotlight has over you. Because the real secret is this: confidence isn't about becoming perfect. It's about realizing that no one's watching as closely as you think. You're not on a stage, there's no spotlight, and even if people glance at you, it's just a flicker. They move on, just like you do when they make mistakes. So if you've been holding yourself back because of how you might be judged, if you've been hiding in the shadows of imaginary criticism, this is your permission to step into the light. Not because everyone's watching, but because it doesn't matter if they are. You were never under a spotlight. It was just in your head. And now you can turn it off.